Hello, I'm Dean Adams. And that's Lana. She's yelling at the birds. And you're watching There's Always Room at the Table. On today's episode, we're cooking up steak. And not just any steak, the good old American bone-in ribeye. So stay tuned, and we'll show you how to make a pan-seared steak with a steak sauce to die for. All up next. Okay, I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about prep. It's very important that you have everything ready to go when you start to cook. You don't want to be running back and forth to the refrigerator or the cupboard to grab the knife or different spices that you need to start cooking. The French have a term for this. It's called mise en place. It literally means put in place, but the way you want to look at it is everything in its place. We're all ready to go. We have everything laid out. We're getting ready to season everything, and we're going to start moving to the stove. So we've got our steak here. I've got it seasoned with salt and pepper. The only thing that you need to season your steak with is salt and pepper. I'll say that again. The only thing that you need to season your steak with is salt and pepper. So we've given it a few turns of salt. We've given it a few turns of pepper. We want to make sure that we press that in. Flip it over. As you can see, we've done the same thing to the other side. We've pressed it in to make sure that it's set in there, and our steak has now been resting for about 20 minutes prior to us getting ready to cook. Now that's important. Our steak is actually going to rest twice before the end of the night, or before we start eating. You want it to rest beforehand because you don't want to take a cold steak out of the refrigerator and throw it in the pan because you're going to end up with a tough steak. And at the end, you don't want to take a hot steak off the pan and put it on the plate and just start going to town and eating it because you'll ruin it. It won't taste as good as it possibly could taste. So we're going to rest before and we're going to rest after. So while it's resting beforehand, you can get everything else ready and prep and chop and dice and do everything that you need to do, and that way you're ready to go once everything's good. We've got our asparagus prepped, our knobs of butter ready to go, our different things for our pan sauces, and now we're going to get started. Alright, let's get started. I'm going to throw a little canola oil on the pan, and then we're going to put our steak in. You hear that sound? That's very important. You want to make sure that when your steak hits the pan, it sizzles. If it doesn't sizzle when it hits the pan, then you're doing it wrong. So we're going to add our 4 cloves of garlic to the mix. Now we're going to get these on each side. You want the stove to be on medium heat. Now you can preheat the pan high so you get it to that hot level, and make sure you turn it back down. All right, we're going to add a couple of knobs of butter, basically 2 tablespoons of butter on each side. This is a little trick I learned from watching Gordon Ramsay. He basically sets up his later sauce by basting his steak. You're basically making garlic butter and basting your steak with it. So that's going to give us a good platform for flavor at the end. Now, I've got a steak here that's a little bit over 16 ounces. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick to an inch, and it's a bone-in ribeye. Now I like bone-in ribeyes because the bone gives all the flavor. It's really going to keep the steak at its best, but you know, you can always go with a boneless too. That doesn't make it any worse of a steak. Alright, we flipped our steak here. It's been a couple of minutes. We've got our asparagus going. Put it right in, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and make sure we put a lid on it because we want to steam it in its own moisture. Again, just like the other side, we're going to baste it in the brown butter, and that is going to retain our flavor. And get us set up for the rest of the time. Alright, let's check in on our asparagus here. We see that it's got nice and charred up there. Our pan-seared asparagus is really going to turn out nice. Just want to keep it moving around. It hasn't quite stopped cooking, and it's still a little stiff. So we're going to put the lid back on it and let it cook a little bit more. Alright, we've got our steak here. We're going to flip it one last time. Again, we see our nice char. We're going to get the now perfectly garlic buttered, brown buttered basting going. We're about done here. So let's get our plate. I'm going to take this off the heat. I'm just going to set that over here. I'm going to let that rest. Now, to start our pan sauce, we want to get rid of the garlic, because we were just using that to flavor everything. Get the heat turned back up on. Now, we don't have to add any more oil because we've already got that butter in there. Now, check our asparagus. Look like it's pretty close to being done. So we're going to off the heat here. Keep the lid on it. It'll let it steam. It'll be ready to go. So turn this down to about medium, and we're going to take our shallots and we're going to throw them right in. Add a little salt. We'll get this pan sauce started. Now, shallots are just basically onions. They're like a small red onion. You want to slice them up. Not too thin, not too thick. Now they're going to cook fairly quickly. It's important not to let them burn. But we're going to put the mushrooms right on top of them. Now you can use any mushrooms that you want. I'm using baby portobellos, but you can use shiitake or regular button mushrooms, your average variety. Doesn't matter exactly what style they are, but you just want them in there. Saute the two together for about a minute or so. You want the mushrooms to start softening up. And then we're going to add our 3 ounces of Cabernet. And this is going to act as a deglazer, so you want to move the Cabernet around. And we're basically going to have this in here and reduce it to half. So you put in 3 ounces, so when it looks like there's about 1.5 ounces in there, that will be the cue for our next step. Looks pretty good there. So now we're going to take our chicken stock, another 3 ounces. We're going to add this to it. And again, we're going to reduce it to half. We'll let that cook away. Alright, we've got our sauce reduced down here. We're going to take off the heat, give it a quick stir. We're going to add 1 last tablespoon of butter, and we want to incorporate that in, and that's going to give us a silky smooth texture to our sauce. So while that's melting down, let's get everything ready to go here. If you've got juices accumulated here, you can pour them in your sauce, and that's only going to make it better. We're ready to plate here. Get this cleaned up. We're going to add our asparagus. Give our sauce one last stir. And we're ready to pour it on. That was a little hot for me. It's important not to burn yourself. You've got our great Cabernet mushroom sauce. I always like to add a little bit of raw horseradish to go with our steak. So here we go. We've got our steak and asparagus with our Cabernet mushroom sauce, and I'm ready to eat. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to like us on YouTube. My name's Dean Adams, that's Lana, and remember, there's always room at the table.